is the server? Where is the server icon? Okay, let's use this one. So we've said for your website to be live, for your platform to be accessed all over the world, for your website to be accessed all over the world, you need to host your website files on a cloud server or a remote server, so to speak. And how a user communicates to that remote server is through what we call the request response cycle. So the user will send a request, the server will respond with a response. Okay, and we've said this request can be what we call get, it can be put, it can be post, it can be patch. So these are what we call HTTP methods. The server responds with, it can respond with status codes. 200 meaning everything, it's okay. 300 meaning, 300 means what? I have forgotten. 400 means your request has an issue. 500 means the server cannot process that request. 300 is redirect. If you're trying to access stories, you can get redirected to another endpoint. And in most cases, when you're reading any tutorial, whatever server they always mention here is the front-end server. Okay, so sometimes people put the front-end and the back-end on one server, and sometimes they put them on separate servers. So you might have the back-end server right here, and the front-end server. So the back-end server, the front-end server communicates with the back-end server as shown below. Okay, so it just sort of like, we call it proxy. Proxy meaning just act on behalf. So we have the front-end server here, and we have the back-end server. We have the front-end server and we have the back-end server, and these servers are just basically computers. And I can show you one. If you want to create a server, if you want to buy a server, you can do that using AWS. If you don't have an account, you can register for an account. And I thought I was already signed in. So you can register for an account, and this is sort of what your interface will look like. So AWS is what you call a cloud provider. There are several. There is AWS, there is Azure, there is DigitalOcean. All these are cloud providers. The same way you go to a shop in town and buy a computer, that is the same thing you're doing here. You're just going into their platform and buying a small computer. So I can show you some of the computers I already have here. So I'll go to Lightsail here. Don't worry about the name. Don't worry about the name. If I go to Lightsail, Lightsail is basically just a type of computer. So AWS has quite a few. It has what you call EC2. It has Lightsail. We'll look at all that when we get to cloud computing part. But these are my computers on AWS, okay? So I can access them, I can see what is running on them. And when we are accessing our servers, we don't have a graphical user interface. We don't see icons and whatnot. We only see the terminal. That is why I insisted that making the terminal your home is very important. So I will log into one of these computers, and I can log into this one called Mobi. So I'll just go here. I think I did bite my tongue. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so I'll go to this Mobi here. So it takes a second to authenticate that, to confirm it's me. And so this is where the Soma Stories website is hosted. I know some of you will try to, do whatever it is. I hope I don't expose too much information. Anyway, so this is my computer on the server. I'm no longer in my local computer. This is my local computer here. So it's my Ubuntu. I can browse. I can do whatever I want. But this is my server. So I can see I can see my services on the server. So if I just do docker ps, don't worry about that command again. I can see I have Soma Web here. I have MobiBit. I have all these are applications running on that server. Okay. So this is my cloud server. So I'll just exit out of it. So I'm in Nairobi, but I've just I've just logged into my server on DigitalOceans, on AWS. And if you pay attention to this location here, my server is in Mumbai. It's not in South Africa. I thought it's in South Africa. My goodness. So my server is in Mumbai. So if I type, for example, Soma Stories on the browser, if I type Soma Stories, what has happened right now, my browser has gone to Mumbai and gotten me these files you see here. It has happened in milliseconds like that. And if I need data, my backend server is hosted on another server. It's not hosted on the same server as this one right here. As you can see, my backend server is not here. So my backend server is on another platform called DigitalOceans. So you can just go to DigitalOceans. No, I'm not going to log into that. You guys will try to poke around. So this is the data that comes from the database. Don't worry about that. So that is how the request response cycle works, and I've just clarified here. Your front-end server will be on another server, your back-end server will be on another server or platform, and they both communicate together. Okay, so the language that these two servers use is what we call JSON. Okay, not really the language, but the data format is called JSON. Remember, oh my goodness, JSON. This is the data they use. Okay, so the front end will communicate. If we are saving data, it will send a JSON payload, what we call payload, and if it's just reading data, it will get also a JSON payload. And you look at an example here. So here I have this website called Private Property Kenya, and I want to see how the front end, the website, communicates with the server. So as always, to get to where I was, you can just right click anywhere empty, like here, and then say inspect, and then inside inspect you're going to go to the network tab, and right here we can try to simulate a request and see the kind of data we're getting. So we can click on this one right here. Dear property seeker, do not make any upfront payments. Yeah, thank you for the heads up. So as you can see, some stuff is happening here, and this is just basically the browser, the front-end server, and the back-end server all communicating. Okay, so if we go into the first request here, the response is 4. I don't even know what that is. So we can go into the headers, and we can see this is a GET request, and we got a 200 status code, which means the request was successful. We can go into this areas JSON, and again we can see it is a GET request. The server responded with 200, which means okay. And we can go to the response tab, and as you can see, we got all this data. Now this is JSON. Okay, this is just like Rosie Hotel Estate, blah blah. So this is just JSON data, and in the headers we can see the kind of request that was sent. So we will also learn how to play around with this thing outside the browser. I don't even know what I'm saying. Anyway, you get my point. So we can go to the next request, and we can see it's a GET request, and there's quite a lot of information here. And then we can see response, and then we can see it's just a JSON payload. So what is this? Let's have a look. Zoho Sales IQ. I don't know what that is. They're using Zoho. The ERP is Zoho. App name, Private Property Africa. There's a code there, and then there's the article. I don't know what that is. So you can just scroll. Sales IQ Zoho Africa. That is quite a lot of information giving the anyway. We can go to the next request. This returned an empty response, and if you go to the headers, you can see it's a GET request, and it was sending to this endpoint. We can go to the next. It's a post request. This is a post, not a GET. And what are we posting? Let's look at the payload. If we go to the response, there's nothing. So we are not really sending any payload with that post request. Oh my goodness, I'm showing you guys the wrong thing. So if it's a post request, you don't check the response tab, you check the payload. Okay, So this is what was sent to the server. This is actually another way to know if you're working with a malicious website. So if for example, I was opening this website and I see here it is sending a post request, and it has let me see what information it did send. Okay, there's nothing alarming here. So if, for example, I see here it has captured the name of my computer specifications, my IP address, and everything that, you know, maybe might be personal, I would know that this website is malicious. Okay, so I can go to the next request, payload response. So this is actually this is a post request. Again, the payload. Yeah, so some of these post requests, because a post request has to be initiated by the user, but not always, because sometimes the app can just do a post request on its own. For example, if they are trying to track how many people are viewing our website from Kiambu, how many people are viewing from Kenya, they might send post requests just to capture that information. Anyway, so not all websites will give you all this information here. So if I go to another website, this one, let me just clear, and let me just start from scratch. So I'll right click here, I'll say inspect, and then inside here I will go to the network tab, and then I will refresh. Yeah, as you can see, we have some activity here. So you'll start with the first request. The header say it's a get request, and we are getting this, and we can go to the response, and it's just an empty response. So we can go to the next one, headers. This is a post request. The payload, this is just tracking information. They are trying to track, if I can just see inside. Yeah, they're just trying to see how many visitors, the amount of time, the time you spend on a specific page. If we go to this headers, it's a post request. It was sent to this URL, and the payload, first content, full page, first paint, location. Again, so this just shows them what page I visited. So they'll see on their end that this page was visited by this number of people. So that is what this is. Anything else here we want to see? I guess this just means which page did you access this one from, but I'm not sure. So let's see response. So in this in all these API, in all these calls or requests, there is no request that shows us the actual data like the way we saw here. Okay, here we saw that you are getting actual data, like for example location, Westlands, Nairobi, Ring Road, Westlands, blah blah blah, but this does not show. So some people do this as a security measure to make their website secure. So some websites like Facebook, for example, let's try if Facebook shows us. Now what the heck is going on here? Okay, I don't know why somebody will do that, but so inspect, and then we refresh. So once we refresh, we can go to the network tab. So we kind of see a few things here, like for example this header. So it's a post request. What payload was sent? It's just a bunch of tracking information here. There's nothing interesting for us to play around, and they're actually making quite a lot of. Let's see this main. What is in this main? Wait, hey, stop. So I had to stop it here because it was trying to. So we can go to, so it's a get request, and it was sent to this URL, and the response, oh my goodness, yeah, nothing there interesting to dig around. So we have GraphQL, it's a post request, it was sent to this response, payload, what was sent, and so on and so forth. So what is the essence of doing all this? The essence of doing all this is for you to just understand how services communicate in the cloud. or on the internet. So it's also important for you to note that when you're building your services, you have to decide whether to hide this information or to display that information to the users. So if we check, for example, Soma Stories, I'll right click, say inspect. If we go to the network tab and we refresh, so we can see all this information is being displayed. So if we go to the first request here, headers, so it's a GET request and it's going to this endpoint. Response, just nothing we can read. So we can just skim through and look at, for example, this one right here. So we go to the headers, we see it's a GET request and it's 3 or 4. We'll discuss what 3 or 4 means. It's not 200 like we saw before, or 400 or 500. So the request was being sent to this endpoint, and the response is just stories. So we can see the author, the name of the author is Jen E. Kiarie. This is the story title, and we can see it here. This is the story that was fetched, and so on and so forth. There's quite a bunch of stories in here. So in my case, I've left this endpoint open because I intend to make it open for people to fetch stories on their own services. So that is why mine is open, and you can see all the information right here. But some do not have all that information open. So you can just close this. What happened here? Anyway. So now, when designing APIs, what are some of the things you need to keep in mind? Let me just move this to this side. All right, so right now we were browsing the APIs using the browser, which sometimes it's not always intuitive, or it doesn't give you enough information. So you want to use another more powerful tool to do these things. And let me just open my Windows computer here. I thought I had opened it. These guys are called MailSafi. MailSafi. It's a Kenyan company that hosts emails. Again, I'm not marketing them, neither am I asking you to go and buy their services, but just go and check them out. It helps you, it helps you connect some dots. Like if you read that they provide mail hosting services, you Google and find out what is mail hosting, how different is it from hosting a website, things like that. So inside our Windows, we are going to download a tool called Insomnia. Now, Insomnia is basically an API browser. So what an API browser is, it helps you play around with APIs outside the browser, the normal Firefox or Chrome, like what we've just been doing. So there are quite a lot. There's Insomnia, there's another one called Postman. I personally actually use Postman. I shifted from Insomnia. I don't know why I moved, but so Insomnia, this one right here. Just look for this icon. So we'll click on this and download for Windows. So 500 MBs, that is too big. Oh my goodness. Let's just use Insomnia. This is too big. It will take ages to download. So but if you want to try it out, you can just download it and then maybe watch a tutorial on how to work around it. But in our case, you're going to use what we call Postman, which is just the same as Insomnia. So if you open these, you can see there's a download button. I think it's this one right here, and you can just watch this video and check it out, what it's all about. So I have mine installed here. I'm just going to open it, and we are going to browse an external API, an API that we've not created ourselves. This is actually, I was working on the API for Chakula, and I'm actually so excited that I want to dive deeper into that, but that's a video for another day. It's awesome stuff. But just to take you through, this is the registration. So a user will just send the password, email, their dietary goals, their daily budget, and then the region. And then the platform will generate meals that, you know, are within this budget and are in Kenya. So if you come to the recommendation bit right here, I do not have any data for this one. How about this? I do not have any data. I thought I had data, but I do not have data. Anyway, we'll talk about this some other time. So let me just create another workspace here. So blank workspace, I'll say next. And then we'll call these 8 hours. We'll say create. And this is what it looks like, 8 hours. So there's this API called Open Food Facts. Let me just open it here. Open Food Facts. So you also need to know how to work with the external APIs. And like I said in a previous video, we have APIs that that are locked. Something like Daraja API, you cannot just call it anyhow. You have to have authentication and all that. But there are some APIs that are open for you to play around with. So let's look at this one right here. Open Food Fact. So if you want to know open APIs that you can play with, you can just go to Google and search public APIs. You can just search public APIs and you can see a list of, you know, awesome APIs you can play with, like this one right here, free APIs. Cat facts, dog pics. Let's look at dog pics. So as you can see right here, this is open, so we can just copy this and paste it in the browser. And you get an image which is right here, but the browser is not displaying it, okay? But you're getting some data. So how about another API? Let's look at another API. Let's look at, for example, random facts about dogs. So we can just click on that. Oh, this is a little bit okay. So the server is this. Can I copy it? No, I cannot. So for these ones, they have given you an interface for you to play around the API. So if I just click on this try now, I can just say I want page 3 and I want 50 records or 20 records, for example. I'll say execute. And here I have the data. So I have whatever that is. I have the description. I have the. So if you're building, for example, a platform for dogs or for veterinary, and somehow you need to get all these dog facts, you can do it easily using this API. So these ones, they have given you the interface for you to work around the API. We look at how Fast API also gives you this. But if I don't want to use it here, I can copy this thing. You see this curl here, I can copy it. Okay, and I go to my terminal. Let me clear. I'll go to my terminal and I paste it and hit enter. And as you can see, I'm getting the same information. However, this is not very well formatted. As you can see, it's very hard to know what is happening here. Okay. So that is why an API browser becomes very handy. So we will take this request and use our API browser, Postman. So I'll go to Postman and then I'll create, and then I'll say this is dog facts. So inside dog facts, like right here, I'll say create a request and then I'll say dog fact. Dog facts, and then here, so let me go to the notes first so that I can paste whatever I have. The docs, I'll paste this, but this is what I'm interested in, this one. So I'll copy it, I'll paste it here, and then I'll just minimize this and then I'll hit send. So as you hit send, as you can see, we are getting the same thing we got in the browser, but this is a little bit well formatted. Like as you can see, we have the ID, you have the name, you have all this information. If you are just using the browser as we did, it's hard to know, okay, where's the name, where's the description. So that is where an API browser comes in handy. As you can see, it's well formatted. We have relationships field, we have the group ID, whatever that is. We have the breed here, Blackton, whatever that is. We have the description, and so on and so forth. So back to the food API that we started with before we went into other things. The food API. So this one right here, we'll open it. And again, I want you to pay attention to the pattern, okay? Pay attention to any repeating patterns, okay? That is what will help you master this. So they do have a mobile app, I'm guessing, but you're not going to use the mobile app. Ooh, Charlie horse. Oh my goodness. So, yeah, we are looking for the API. So this is just showing us information, but we want the API version. So here I can just say API, food facts API. It's doing its thing. All right, so there's quite a lot going on here. I think I'll just use a browser I had already opened. So let me just close this and then open this. So this is what we are looking for, and we can just copy this. This is the API itself. We can paste it here. I think it's taking time because it's quite a lot of data. JSON, it's quite a lot of data, so it's taking a while to get everything. So let me just minimize all this. We are done with all this. And yeah, we have our data. So as you can see, it's quite a lot. It's all over the place. It's very hard for you to, okay, for computers, it's easy for computers to read all this. I can just paste this in ChatGPT and it can read it for me. But if I want to read it myself and look at the structure of the API, this is cumbersome. So I'll come to my Postman. I will say new. And then here I will say food facts. I'll just give it a name, food facts. And then this is where I paste the URL. Now it's important for you to note that an API is basically a URL. That's it. It's basically a URL. But instead of giving you like a web page or anything, it gives you JSON data. So here I will just say send. Again, it takes a while because it's fetching a lot of data. All right, so while it does that, each server in the cloud has what you call an IP address. Actually, not each server, each computer has an IP address. Your computer has an IP address, but the IP address are in sets of two. Number one is your private IP address, and number two is your public IP address. Your public IP address is what users over the internet can see. We'll get back to this. But if you are using Linux, for example, let me close this. We don't need it. So if you're using Linux, to see your private IP address, you can just do ifconfig, and this is your private IP address shown right here. Okay, this cannot be accessed over the internet. To see your public IP address, basically you can just come to your browser and do public, what's my IP address? All right, so my IP address, it's checking. Oh no, it's right here. Sorry, this is IPv6. Don't worry about that. So this is my public IP address. So just know any computer connected to the network has two IP addresses. Number one is the private IP address. Number two is the public IP address. And you can check the IP address of any website. So for example, if you want to check the IP address of Soma Stories, we can just do dig somastories.app. And this is the IP address of Soma Stories. So this is the address of the server that has Soma Story files. Okay. So if I copy this, let me see if this will work. I don't know if it will work. Let me just try and paste it in the browser. Blah blah. Continue. and then nothing. It's because we'll get to ports when you get there. So how about an IP address of something like Google? Let's see if Google has an IP address. Dig google .com. Is it .com? And as you can see, Google is at this IP address. So let me just copy it and try to play around and see what happens. Yeah, as you can see, it has redirected me to google.com. Okay, so this is the public IP address of Google servers. So let's just go back to our Postman, and here we can look at the structure. This is what you call the structure of an IP address. So sorry, the structure of an API. The structure of an API starts with the URL itself. Like as you can see, they are saying a API version 2 product, and then we are getting a JSON, like the data. So here we are seeing the keywords and beverage, France, goes on, whatever that is, and we can just keep scrolling. Beverages and beverages preparation. Yeah, because the owners have protected it. Categories. So we have categories here. In English, these categories are beverages, waters, spring waters. So you might ask, where am I getting this English? How do I know this is English? I know by looking at this. Okay, so you can try to put yourself in the in the mind of whoever created the API and see some of the choices they made. So if I see this code right here, I might ask myself, oh, what is this code? What is it the code for? So I can look at this line here, which groups the information, and I can tell you that this is the code for this product with this ID. So we can just keep scrolling and looking for any information, anything that might help us understand how to work with this endpoint. So, we can just skim through contributions uploaded. Anyway, all that information, we don't have to dive deeper. So let's create our own API. Let's build Chakula. Okay. So before you create any API, it's always important you have some sort of a documentation. And this documentation is normally what you call the system design brief. So for something like Chakula, for example, I have a system design brief. Where is it? My goodness. Where is the system design brief for Chakula? Here. So the system design, actually, this is what people pay a lot of money to go and, learn. But you're going to learn them. Why would you even pay money to learn tech? Anyway, so this is the system design brief for Chakula, and I have the brand identity here. I haven't really done much. I just have an inspiration here for the brand identity. But the system design brief basically tells you what the app is, what the features are. For example, this is just a cross-platform mail suggestion engine that personalizes recommendations using two primary signals, your location and your budget. Other things that can be considered is your body goals, medical conditions, because we don't want to tell somebody to go and eat chocolate when they are allergic to chocolates. When they're diabetic. Dude, okay, I don't know. I don't know if diabetic patients eat chocolate. And so the goals of the MVP, and an MVP is just like the first version of your app. It's basically something that works but needs a lot of improvement. And as an MVP might look like, I thought I had installed it here. Okay, it's crashing. So that's the purpose of an MVP. So what are the goals? Deliver culturally relevant meal suggestions within the user's budget, work reliably in low connectivity environments, and then use USSD. So if you have Katululu or Mulikamwizi, as they say, the button phone, you don't have to have the app to get a suggestion. You can just say *123 4 suggest meal, and then you get the meal and things like that. So this is just the system design brief, and it's always very important to start with this. As you can see, I've even specified specified how my APIs will look like. Like for example, when we want to generate a mail, we want to send, it's a post request, and we want to send in the payload, we want to send the region and the how many suggestions do we want, and so on and so forth. So let's simulate the Chakula API from scratch. So as always, we'll start by creating a folder here, and we'll call it Chakula API. We'll say this is version 2. Okay, and we'll open our folder in VS Code. So I'll just, let me see if this will work. No, that will not work. So I'll open VS Code. So the steps are just the same if you're using Windows. Just create the folder and then open it in VS Code. Moving up, continuing from there will just be the same. So I'll say File, Open Folder. I'll go to Desktop. We'll open our Chakula version 2. And yeah, this is what we have. So I'm using Cloud Code. Hey, here is a disclaimer. I'm not going to write any code in this session, but I'm going to read code. Why struggle writing code when a senior engineer at Google or Facebook is not writing any code? Doesn't make any sense. So we'll start with the system design brief, and we'll call this readme.md. Now inside readme.md, we'll say mail suggestion platform. And so what is the first thing you want users to do with our API? The first thing we want them to do, again, this is just what the AI agent is suggesting, but I want to type my own thing. So number one, goals. Number one, we want users to register. Registration. After the users have registered, we want login, mail suggestions, user profile management. We don't want feedback. We want voting mails. This is actually going to be a very long session. So if you don't have we are building an API from scratch, and through that you're going to learn the best practices of doing so. We're going to learn about things like caching, like rate limiting, like security, and all that stuff. So if you have not gotten your cup of coffee like I have not, please do so, because moving forward, this will be a heavy session. So do that as I get my own coffee. Also, if you have a question, do share in the chats. You can also download Postman or Insomnia as I make my coffee. So I was going to just make I'm actually having tea, not coffee. And then I saw this. Give me a second. All right. So, am I audible? Can somebody give me a confirmation in the chat if I'm audible? All right. So, we want to build our API, and our API basically will allow registration, login, mail suggestions, user profile management, and voting mails. So, when building an API, there are different frameworks you can use. For example, if we just Google backend frameworks, so if we just Google backend frameworks, we can see there is quite a lot. Depending on somebody's preference. So, okay, I don't think this is giving me the information I want. So we have something like Express.js. We have something like Flask. We have something like Django. We have something like Fast API. We have something like what is it called? Laravel. Laravel is a PHP framework. So you can choose whatever you want depending on the dependencies, how they connect to the database, how they handle data and all that, how fast they are. Some people say, let's do a benchmark here. Backend frameworks benchmark. Okay, we are not doing a benchmark. We're just looking at a benchmark. So we'll look at this. Where is the data? Where is the data? All right, so let's see. Higher is better. What does that even mean? Oh my goodness, what is all this? Okay, this is not helpful. Web frameworks benchmark. No, this is for, I think this is for front end. We're only looking for the back end. Performance ranking in 2024. So let's see. So Django is at, so if you compare Django to Rust, I think that is what it means. I don't understand this thing. Okay, we can just use this. Performance ranking, backend framework, performance ratio. Again, not very well explained. I'm looking for something easier to understand. All right, let's look at this. Where is the oh, this is an article. Let's open it. Oh, ranking, not benchmarks. Okay, thanks, KJ. KJ, yeah. So we can say backend frameworks. By the way, I make a ton of spelling mistakes when I'm typing. So, okay, this is still not giving us the information we want. Anyway, as you can see, we have Node.js, we have Fast API, we have Java, Spring Boot, and whatnot and whatnot. If you feel like you do not have enough stress in life, go with Spring Boot. It will give you stress. So in our case, let's use something very simple, extremely simple, and you're going to use Fast API. Okay, it's just simple enough for our use case. So I'm going to do this, and when you are writing code, oftentimes you'll find yourself having this sort of structure. So I will move this to the side. I'll also minimize this, move it here. I'll move this down, and then let's hide this for now. So we'll just hide that. I'll use the one that comes with VS Code. So right here. So this is where the code will be happening, and this is my terminal, and this is the AI agent I'll be using. In your case, if you're using the free version of VS Code, you'll see here you can use GPT 4.1, and let's just use GPT 4.1 since it's what you guys will be using. So we'll open the Fast API documentation, Fast API docs. We'll go to fast steps, and we'll just go through the steps real quick. So you want to start from the very beginning, and that is, let's go to learn. Let's see what we have here. Fast API. Oh my goodness. All right, so we start here. But you see, it has skipped virtual environment, and you always, like I said, whenever you're working with Python, always work with a virtual environment. So here I'll activate my virtual environment. So I'll say Python 3-m venv. I'll call my virtual environment .venv. Like so. So as you can see, the virtual environment has been created. Let me go ahead and activate it. So I've activated my virtual environment as shown by this thing right here. So after activating my virtual environment, let me just copy this command, run it here. No, I have not installed them globally. What do you mean? So I'll give it a second. So I'm just following this tutorial. I've, gone through this already. So yeah, I know some of you are learning everything for the first time, and like I always say, don't try to cram, don't try to cram. Just have a general knowledge of how everything flows. Everything else will be handled by ChatGPT. So after we've run this command, we will come and copy this main.py. We'll create a file here called main.py, and then we'll paste the code that we got here, and then we can just go ahead and run this. So I will do now. Experimenting is always very important. We can say, instead of running Fast API dev, let's try to run that main.py. So we'll say Python main.py, just like the way we were running Python commands. And as you can see, nothing is happening. Okay, so let's just go ahead and run this Fast API dev. Yeah, and this is what we are interested in. So if you just hold Control and click on this, it will open the API. So as you can see, we have our API. What if we want to specify an item ID as shown here? So we can come here and say items first. No details found. Let's say 1. No details found. So again, Fast API does a very good job because it also comes with an inbuilt API docs. We call it API docs as shown here. So if I just click control, if I just hold control and click on this, it opens this thing right here. And as you can see, it's the same thing as, you know, we had previously when we were looking at the external API. Okay. So now let's go back to our system design brief and see what we need to do. So number one, we need to handle user registration. Okay. So for somebody who has never written any code before, they can just come here and say, create an endpoint for user registration. Okay. But there's quite a lot of prerequisite information that you need to have. Number one, you need to know which database you'll be using. Number two, you need to know which format of registration will you need. So in our case, we want to use a format called JWT. Okay, it's not really a format, it's just like a method of registration. So we want to use JWT. So I will rewrite my request and say create an endpoint for user registration, and then down here I'll say use SQLite 3 as the DB, use JWT. Okay, and then we'll hit enter. So when you're registering on anything, for example, if I want to register on WordPress, let me just do a quick WordPress site here, WP admin. So let me try to register here, but I'll give a wrong password. So I'll say login. I'll say login again. Now you see this 2 attempts remaining. Okay, I cannot just continue typing the password. It will lock me out. It will block my IP address from typing whatever. And every web interface we have nowadays has this. If you're trying to log into Facebook, Twitter, whatever, and you're typing the wrong password, it will give you like a maximum number of attempts you can do. A good example also is KRA. If you're typing the wrong KRA pin and password, it will only give you like, is it 3 or 4 attempts? So we also want to do that in our API. So let's first create the API and see if registration is working. The following packages will be installed. Okay, allow. So whatever it writes, I will have to go here and review. Copilot requires an empty folder as workspace to continue workspace creation. Yeah, that's okay. Continue. So inside Chakula API version 2, we'll create a folder, say users. Hit enter. Select. No. I was supposed to select it here. My goodness. Let me delete this. Delete is not working. Okay, I'll just say select an empty folder. What did I do? Oh, I'm inside the users folder. Let's see. The model wants to edit file outside your workspace. Do you want to allow it? Creating the directory blah.github. Fine, go ahead. Because it needs a directory for it to be working from. So that's what the directory is. Let me just go. Now I think there's a little bit of a problem because we created a folder and then we created another folder. So I'll do cd dub and then activate my virtual environment again, and then I will do cd users, and then I will clear my terminal. What am I typing? My goodness. Clear. So I'll go back to want to close this. Allow once. So when you're working with the this is called GitHub Copilot. When you're working with it, you can choose whatever model you want depending on whether you have a subscription or not. Now, each model has its own brain power. Okay, this is like dumb. This is a little bit, it does how can I say it? it's a little bit more intelligent, as well as this one right here. It's a little bit more intelligent. So depending on the model you choose, your results will depend on the model you choose. So it's telling me that it has created these routes right here. So I can just review the code. I see here we have a class which will contain our email and password, all good. And then now we have the endpoint here. And our endpoint will be a post, okay? It will not be get, it will be a post. And I'll show you what that means. So I'll say everything looks good, continue. Continue. Chakula API, okay, continue. I think we did mess with those folders, and I have a feeling it will bite us in the ass in a few minutes. But we'll see. Python 3 main.py. So you want to run the code. So this basically just fires up our server. But ChatGPT, of course, GPT has encountered the same issue we encountered before when we tried to run the server and then nothing happened. So it has shifted to another library for running our server. So it's right here. So we'll say command not found. Of course, we do not have UVCon installed. Let's proceed. Okay. Yeah, let's redo everything. I have a feeling that switching between the folders did mess me up. So let me just let's just redo this thing. Yeah. So we'll open our folder again in VS Code. So I'll say cancel. I'll say file, open folder. I'll say Chakula API version 2. Yes. And then right here. So we had already started, but I'm going to just change my model here to GPT 5.4. And then first I'll confirm if the endpoint was created. So I'll activate my virtual environment, and then I run fast API dev. Of course, 1,000 errors. So we'll go back here. We'll delete everything main.py, we created it, and requirements.txt. So we'll delete everything. Now we remain with what we had before we messed. So now I'll issue the same command. As a matter of fact, I don't want to use GPT-5, I want to use Cloud Code. So I'll change to Cloud Code right here, and then I'll say enter. This is actually lemon tea with ginger. Yeah, my wife has flu, so I'm trying to protect myself with ginger. Lots of ginger. All right, so okay, yeah, sure, that's the folder we're working with. So while it does that, you can take some time to look through the documentation. My goodness, did I even go to school? You can take some time to go through the documentation and see what it's about. You can even have a look at this. And right here, I just want you to try and pay attention to the pattern. Okay, so if I want to create an API endpoint, this is what I do, and so on and so forth. So continue. You're setting up the JWT, I hope. So apart from just creating an endpoint, there are a few things that are very important for you to know. I have clarified and I've said number one is rate limiting. And rate limiting helps you defend your application from hacking attempts, something like we call brute force, where somebody just guesses passwords, okay? So they just guess passwords, like they could even send 10,000 requests a minute. So you protect yourself from that. So if somebody tries to hack your system, and you have that rate limiting in place, we call it rate limiting, your system is safe to some extent. We'll also look at caching so that we don't have to make a request every time you're querying data. You make a whole new request to the database. Look at all that. That's some pretty interesting stuff. That's taking longer than I expected. It's just an API endpoint. What is... somebody has just texted me on WhatsApp saying they won't give up. Wait, the number is visible. I can't show you guys. Let's go. Yeah, it's called DDoS attack, Evans. Yeah, but it's more of DDoS attack, because for a DDoS attack is somebody just sending a lot of requests to your server so that they can crash your server. But for this one, it's more of a combination of DDoS attack and trying to brute force a password. So once the AI agent is done, like I say, go through your code first before you accept anything. So I'll even skip all these and just go through the code first. I'll refer to this if I get stuck. So this dot shows you the code that has been changed. Okay, so I'll just go inside. I'll say we have the auth.py, which sort of so if I read here, we have a secret key, we have an access token, expire minutes. So that JWT I told you about is what we call the access token, and the access token has an expiry. Okay, it's because the access token is literally like your key to the system. And then we have a few helper functions here, like this one will hash passwords, this one will verify passwords, and then this will create the access token. Okay, I'm okay with that. I can look at the parameters and so on and so forth. So I can go to the database, and these are our database connection credential details. So here we are basically connecting to SQLite 3, as you can see here. And then we go into the models. So this is our user registration and our user response. I don't know why it has separated the two, but well. And then we go to the routes. The routes are basically like URLs. Okay, so we'll have a register URL, and we will have, where is the login? There is no login URL, so we'll fix that in a second. So let's try and see if this endpoint is working. So I'm okay with everything, so I'll just click here, keep, and then I'll go to my terminal. I'll make sure my server is running. It's not running, so let me do fast API, and then I can go to this endpoint right here. And then here's what I want you to try and do. I want you to try and type register. So if you type register, nothing happens. And as you can see down here, it's saying you did send a GET request to the endpoint register, and the status code we got is 404. What does 404 mean? So let's go to the browser and say HTTP 404. And then as you can see, not found. It's because our endpoint does not allow GET. It only allows POST. As you can see here, the register endpoint only allows POST. Okay, so we can go to the API browser, this one right here, the docs. We can, I'm pressing control, and then I click on this, and then we can see we have the register endpoint here. So I can expand this, and then I can say try it now, and then I want to register a user. So the username will be, the username is Moses, the password is Moses at example, sorry, the email, and then the password, we want to say password. So let's hit enter, and yeah, we got an error. Where is the error? My goodness. So as you can see, it's very hard to work with this. That is why we have the API browser. Okay, it's very hard to work with this. Like I have to scroll through so many things to find out where the issue was. So in Postman, I'm going to send the same request. So I'm going to create another collection here. So oh goodness, I will say new collection, and then we'll say Chakula API version 2, and then the collection is here. We're going to create new, add request, or you can just click on this, and then we'll say this is register endpoint, and here we'll say it's 127.0.0.1 8000 register. Okay, and as you can see, we are getting not found because we are sending a get request. Our register endpoint does not allow a get request, it only allows a post request. So here we will do post, and then a post request. Let's try again. Again, we're getting an error because the post request has to have data, and I want you to pay attention to the difference. Right here it's just saying details not found, but if you go to the logs, as you can see, it's saying password cannot be longer than 72 bytes, blah, 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 truncate manually, blah, blah, blah. So let's go to the body part right here, and we'll change this to raw. And then inside here is where you can type your JSON. Just make sure this is set to JSON. So inside here, we'll type our JSON, and we can just copy paste what we had here. So we'll copy paste this, we paste it here, and then we can change the password to super secret pass 123. We hit enter. Not found. What do you mean not found? Register. My goodness, what am I doing? It's a post request, it's a register. Why are you saying not found? What is not happening? What is it I'm doing wrong? Register 8000 register 127 8000 register. Okay, let's go to ChatGPT and see what happened. Okay, to Copilot, not ChatGPT. So it's users register. My goodness. So this is supposed to be users and then register. So we'll hit enter. Internal server error. So let's go to our logs and see what happened. So we'll go to our logs and see password cannot be longer than 72 bytes. So there's something wrong with our password. What if we just try super, or we can just try password and see what happens. So we'll hit enter. Password cannot be longer. So sometimes you get into this kind of issues, and if you're working with GitHub Copilot, you can just paste it. But for you to be effective or for you to be efficient with working with Copilot or any AI agent, you need to know how to communicate to it. And the AI agent is very smart but also very dumb. Okay, you have to tell it exactly what you want it to do. So here I can just copy this and paste it here, but it will probably take longer for it to know where the issue is, if at all we are not sending the actual request that we were sending. So to get the actual request, what I normally do is I come to this icon right here, and then I come to this code, and then I copy this thing here. I'll copy it, I'll go to the terminal, I'll paste it, and then I'll hit enter. And then, okay, I need that server error thing. I'll hit enter. So I copy this, and then I come here, I say, I'm making this request, but getting the error below. So now you've given it enough information for it to be able to, get to the point of, get to the exact issue. Like I've done. So while it does that, I can just go through the code and see if I can spot where the issue is. So hash password, payload password. It could be that we are sending the password as hashed when it's not hashed, but we'll see what the AI agent says. And as you can see, this endpoint has pretty much some of the most common things you see when you're registering. So if you're registering somewhere and you're using a username that has already been taken, it will show you. It will show you that the username has already been taken. If email is already been taken, it will show you the email is already taken, and we'll see how that works. So we are seeding into version 2, Python. Okay, let's continue and see. Okay, so the root cause was this library right here was internally doing its own encoding. The solution removed parslib entirely and used bcrypt directly. Added SHA-256, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's see if that was fixed. So we'll go back, we'll close this, we'll go to our browser and hit enter again. Yeah, and as you can see, the registration has worked. Okay, so now this is the most important bit. This thing right here, the access token. After you've registered or after you've logged in, you get what you call a JWT access token. Now that access token is what you will use to authenticate subsequent requests. Okay, so if you're trying to update your profile, you have to tell the server who you are. You cannot just update your profile. The server does not know you without the JWT. So now that we have our registration working, let's create a login and then we create rate limiting. Okay, so we'll just come to this. We'll say create a login page that accepts email and password and returns a JWT with TTL info. So what TTL info is, it's how long the JWT will take to expire. Because if I give my girlfriend a key and we break up, I want to take my key back. So I want to revoke the key, or rather I want to change the padlock. So that's what we are doing here. Okay, so the TTL is basically just how long will this key be active. Okay, so we'll hit enter. So while it does that, one weakness with working with an AI agent is it installs outdated libraries. Okay, so right now we do not have a file that contains our libraries. So we can do that by running this command. So I'll just come to the terminal. First, I'll make sure I'm inside my virtual environment, and then I'll say pip freeze requirements.txt, pip freeze requirements.txt. I'll hit enter, and then we have this thing here called requirements.txt. So this will store all the libraries that we have installed. Now let's have a look at this and make sure it's the updated version. So I'll just copy this, because it's a core part of our security setup. Okay, so we'll go to the browser and we type that. We go to bcrypt, this PyPy thing, we go to that. Oh, it's the updated version, so that's okay. Let's look at another one. Let's see email validator. If it's, let's say, what else do we want to see here? Let's look at this WebSockets thing. So I'll copy it, I'll paste it here. Yeah, I'm human dummy. FMV9N. So we have WebSockets. The last version was released in January 10th, 2026, and as you can see here, it's the latest version. So that is okay. Let's go on. Let's look at this UVCon here. Let's look at UVCon. So it's version 0.43.0 and 0.43.0. Okay, so we have a rough idea of, we can say that our libraries or dependencies are updated. So you might be wondering, where did I get this website? So if you build a library, a Python library, you can just it's the same way you build a mobile app and publish it to Play Store. So if you're building a Python library, for example, or a dependency, you push it to this website called pypy.org, okay? And your library can be used all over the world with, all developers. So let's go back, see if this thing is done. Oh my goodness, why do you need my permission? I gave you permission. All right, so the login endpoint is working. So let's confirm our server is running. Our server is running. We'll open the API browser, and then this request right here, we will duplicate it. But first, let me rename it to avoid confusion. So this is supposed to be users, and we'll click here, we duplicate, and then the second one will be called login. So this is called login. All right, and right here, it's not users register, it's users login. Is it users login? My goodness, let me confirm. It's users login. Okay, perfect. So what does it take? It takes the email and password. So we'll just take everything we copied from, we did send this one, and then you go to the login page, we paste it here. No, body row, and make sure it's JSON, and then we paste it there. There's also something important you need to know, to pay attention here. Our login endpoint only needs two fields, the username and the password. What happens if we send an extra field? Let's see what happens. So username is Moses, password, let's hit send. And as you can see, it's returning the JWT, which is our key, but this key has an expiry, and it's expiring at 1822. It's right now, wait a minute, what time is, it's using a different time, I can't remember, but the expiry, if we go back to our login page, not the login page, I think it was somewhere where it was database, no, not database, auth, yes, it was under auth. As you can see, our access token expires in 24 hours, so we only have 24 hours before this token becomes useless. So what if we add more fields here? So what if we say food, we say this person ate ugali, okay, and we hit send. Again, we can register, okay? So it does not care about any other fields. It only looks for the two fields that it wants. So let's see, the two fields are email and password. So we can get rid of username, and we can get rid of this other field right here. All right, so now let's go to the rate limiting part. You see, right now, I can try to log in as many times as I want. I can log in again, log in again, log in again. You see? Now, what you're doing right now, you are straining your server, because your server has to handle each request. And if you have, like, let's say 10,000 users, and that is why sometimes this is the part where how can I put this? The gotcha of designing a system. It's not knowing how to handle such things. So let's put some rate limiting here. So we'll say add rate limiting to login endpoint should be, let's set it to the lowest, 3 requests a second. 3 requests in 3 seconds. Let's try that. So while it does its thing, it's also important for you to go through the code. So here we have the pre-hash, just some password, whatever. We just accept that. Let's look at this. It's the login endpoint right here. Login with email and password. We have invalid email and password, and then we take the username and password. So let's accept that. Login response, let's accept that. Let's accept that. So right now we are setting the rate limiting for. So while it does that, we also need a list of foods, okay, so that we can generate randomly. So to do that, let me just ask ChatGPT to generate the list for me. So I'll go to ChatGPT and say no, thank you, my goodness. Generate a dictionary of common foods and the times they are eaten or taken. Taken. Generate a dictionary of common foods. The dictionary should have let's say 50 records. 50 records. All right, so while it does that, yeah, and you also need to learn how to navigate between multiple windows. So I'll just come here, I'll say accept. ChatGPT is done. All right, so we'll copy this, we'll paste it in our readme for now. All right, and let's see if this rate limiting is working. So we'll go to our API browser and we try to log in again. Our rate limiting is not working. So let's see why it's not working. So when the fourth request arrives within 3 seconds window from the same IP, the client receives too many requests. So let's restart our server. Maybe it needed a restart. So we'll see. I try to log in again. Our rate limiting is not working. So we'll copy this. So again, an AI agent is very dumb. If you want to get the most results out of it, you have to be very explicit. So I'll do this. I'll send again. Here it is. It's working here. So as you can see, I was able to send how many requests? 1, 2, 3. And when I sent the fourth request, it told me, hey, chill. Rate limiting exceeded 3 per 3 seconds. Okay. So I think this one was a little bit too slow. That's why we are not hitting the rate limiting. We can give it a try again and confirm. So we can log in again, token, login. Aha, see this thing right here. Okay, so this is what we call rate limiting, and it's extremely very important when you're developing APIs. All right, so what's the next thing? Let's create an API endpoint that that suggests a meal. Okay, so we'll copy this. Again, this is why if you do not know how to read code, if you do not understand the ins and outs of code, you cannot effectively write code. I saw somebody, where is that? I saw somebody saying that they are hosting a course. They want to teach people how to vibe code. And he even said that he has built a school management system using vibe. Now, where is the story? My goodness, Facebook. Oh, you're making my work hard. Okay, you see this guy, I think most of you know this guy called Elvis W or something. Okay, he's lying to people here that he has built an entire learning management system without writing any code, which is a lie. It's a lie. You cannot build a whole platform to be used by people fully vibe coded. No, you cannot. The best you can do is build something small so that you can showcase to your friends or your family, but something to put in front of 1,000 people, no. Anyway, so I digress. So I'll copy this and then I'll come here. I'll say create an API endpoint that will take the time what can I say, the time. So we can say IE breakfast, mid morning snack. Okay, in the parameter, and randomly suggest 3 foods from this list. All right, again, as you can see, how I'm structuring my query is indicative of some knowledge, some prior knowledge. Like for example, parameters, this word parameters here, the text time, an API endpoint, all these needs some prior knowledge in software engineering. Okay, so I'll give it some time. I think this will take a while, so Any questions so far? Anybody lost? Allow. I have a video I edited explaining the difference between development and production environment. Now CapCut did me that. It kept insisting I was using a premium feature, but I was not using any premium feature. And I kept telling them, since this is for educational purposes, I am not going to buy premium. Oh, we have our endpoint ready. So let's see if it's working. So we'll copy this endpoint right here. And then you'll go to our API browser. And then you'll say new meal suggestion. Okay, so meal suggestion here, we'll type the normal stuff, but instead of users login, we're going to replace with meal suggest. So we'll hit enter first to confirm it's working. Method not allowed. Oh, this is supposed to be a get, not a put request. So we'll hit enter. And as you can see, we are getting a suggestion: bacon, jam, and bread for breakfast. Is it jam or whatever? I don't know. This is white people stuff, so don't blame me. So, so our meal suggestion API is working. Okay, so let's try to hit it again. Let's try to hit it again. Let's try to hit it again. So we get different suggestions every time we hit this request. So there's one important thing you should note here is this question mark here, and then followed by mealtime and then breakfast. So this is what you call a parameter. A parameter is an optional, it's like optional details you pass in with your request just to try and, filter out your results. So what if I remove all this and just remain with that? Okay, I hit enter. Missing query mealtime field required. So you see, like, it's telling me this is missing. So we can just paste it back and hit it again, and as you can see, you're getting 200. Okay, and we're getting our suggestion. So now let's go ahead and add caching. Now, what is caching? Let's go back to our request response cycle. Now remember, for like an API endpoint to work, right now we are not querying the front end, we are querying the backend server directly. Where is it? Oh my goodness, I forgot to. So right now we are querying the backend server directly. Okay, and then what the backend server is doing, let me delete this. I have cats digging holes on my feet so that they can climb up. Young ladies, stop that. So we'll get our database right here. All right, it's actually very important you understand caching, because caching is like, it's everywhere. Caching is everywhere. If you do something like, let me see you let me show you one live example of caching. You see this Facebook page. All right, I have internet access. Okay, and I can click on this guy right here, the video, and I can watch the video. Okay, so I have my Wi-Fi on. Now pay attention to what happens if I turn off my Wi-Fi. So I'll scroll down, and now my Wi-Fi is turned off. Okay, and then I'll scroll up. I'll go back to Facebook, and I will try to play a separate video. Okay, so let's assuming I want to play this video right here. So I'll click on it. I think I clicked next. All right, so it's a reel. It's an image reel. As you can see, it's loading, but I don't have Wi-Fi. Okay, so if I go back and I try to scroll up, you see, I'm seeing content, but my Wi-Fi is off. My Wi-Fi is off. That is caching in action. Okay, so there are several levels of caching, and you look at one of them when you get to the client side. What I've shown you right now is just client caching. So what happens is, when we make a request to the database, okay, and we get a response with the data that we want meals, the backend will go to our database and get the meals for us. Okay, now the backend does not have to make a whole new request to the database every time a request comes in. So for that, we introduce another layer here in the middle, using a software called, not a software, but using a service called Redis. So what Redis does, I'm just looking for something to represent Redis. Let's say this one right here. All right. Redis. All right. And Redis is normally a little bit smaller than the database. So we have another service here called Redis. So what happens is, if we make the first request, okay, we are making the first request, and the backend server does not find that data here in the cache or in Redis, it will go directly to the database. Okay, so we can just do this. And this is what we call a cache miss. Okay, write that down, a cache miss. But if we are making another request, let me just do this. If you are making another request and that data exists in the cache, the backend will have no business bothering the database. The database will not even be touched. We will fetch that data from Redis, not from the database. Okay, and that is basically what caching is. So let's see if we can implement some caching here. So to do this actually in code, you need to install another service called Redis, which you can just go to the browser and type Redis. So there's quite a few. There's Redis. Redis is not the only cache you can use. You can use something like Memcached. You can use something like I have forgotten the name. But Redis is not the only service. Just the same way, when you want to build a backend, Fast API is not the only tool you can use. You can use Express, Spring Boot and whatnot. So here we can just come and say, add a caching layer to the meal suggestion endpoint, using Redis. Add a layer to the meal suggestion endpoint using Redis, with a TTL of 5 seconds. Okay, again, you wouldn't know what a TTL is when you're talking about caching if you don't have some prior or if you've not learned anything in software engineering. Yeah, implementing a cache is quite heavy, so that is going to take a while. Yes, of course, proceed. Man, my tea is over. Oh my goodness. Why can't you just auto approve yourself? My goodness. Alright, we seem to have had caching working, export to override Redis URL. So let's see. There's quite a lot happening here, but you're not going to touch anything right now. So we'll go to our browser, we hit the requests again, we hit it. So there's something missing here. The time. So as you can see, we have now pay attention to caching in action. This request took 3 milliseconds. Okay. It took 3 milliseconds. Now pay attention to what happens when I do it again. 7 and then 3. Do you notice that? And then 9 and then 3. 5, 5, 4. So what it's doing is the first request, because we do not have that request in cache, it goes to the database. That's why it's taking longer. It's taking 9 milliseconds. The second request will not go to the database because we already have that data in the cache. So it's fetching the data from the cache, which makes it take less. Okay, 3 milliseconds. So we try again. 4, 6, 3, and so on and so forth. So that is now caching in action. Okay, it's showing us that your request is taking less time because it's coming from the cache, not from the database directly. And that's basically it for this class. Any questions? So it's actually very, very important you participate in such classes, because if you want to be good at building software, it takes more than understanding the syntax of the languages. Some say, personally, I don't like saying I code better in a certain language and so on and so forth. I can code in any language. I can build this entire thing using Spring Boot or Java or Laravel, because I already know the basics, the core principles of backend engineering. For example, security, caching, rate limiting. You see, if you're just building this API, and you will see this in most tutorials online, tutorials for building APIs. I even have a tutorial that I've looked at it quite a few times, thinking of how to change, but I was too tired. Most of the tutorials do not have the rate limiting part and the caching part in the tutorial. But in the real world, there is no backend API. There is not a single, there is not a single serious backend API that does not have rate limiting and it does not have caching. They must have. So that is why it's important to pay attention to such, rather than trying to focus on the syntax of a language. As you can see, of course, I know if I go to my routes here, I can see this is a variable and this is some sort of a method, and we're just getting the time. Okay. If I scroll up and look at something else, like for example, I know this is an if statement and we are trying to raise an error as shown here. So here we are saying invalid email or password. If I scroll up again, I can see this is a variable, this is a variable, this is a variable, but we are using a dot notation to access members of a class. Remember classes, object-oriented programming? That's what you're doing here. And so on and so forth. I can know for sure this is a function and this is the parameter we are passing into that function. And our parameter here is like a class. This user register thing you see here, it's a class. All right. So I need not pay attention to all these syntax here, because AI agents are very good at that. What they are not very good at is, like putting all the pieces together. Or some people like to say the system architecture bit. AI agents are not very good at that. And that is now where you and I come in. Okay. So, yeah, that's it. So we've learned about, rate limiting, caching, how to work with API, how to work with this thing right here. I think if you get stuck, you can just Google how to work with Postman. I think they also have tutorials, if I'm not wrong. So if you just go to Postman, yeah, I think there must be a resources, learning hub. Postman Docs, Academy, AI Agent. So you can go to YouTube, yeah, and just watch the videos on YouTube. I think that's it. So you can use Postman. If you also feel comfortable using this other one called Insomnia because of its color, I actually like the color of Insomnia. You can also just download it and play around. This is how Insomnia looks like. It looks like VS Code. So you can play around, see what it is. I know they have they've made some changes, especially I see everybody now is integrating AI into their application. So I haven't really done that in a while. I looked at the documentation. Yeah, I think that's it for this one. I'll see you guys. I think the next class is on Wednesday, if I'm not wrong. So today we were supposed to have a class, but we shifted to office hours because Mbavu and Weka Mawe were fighting. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. Do stay safe and continue studying. Now, where is this stream? Where is this stream? Oh, it's right here. All right.